Welcome to Real Geek Media. Happy New Year. Welcome back. First show of 2025. I'm Hayden Stoll. He is Christopher Michael Blake. It is Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Christopher, how are you?
Hayden, I'm so excited. Season 2, Real Geek Media, kicking it off tonight, bringing it to the people because this is what they want.
We got a big show ahead of us tonight. We have a very special guest. Christopher, tell us about our guest.
Master at Arms, Master Crafter, Faces of the Undead anthology, Things Forsaken creator, none other than horror icon himself, Ferenc Gregor.
Ferenc, welcome to the show. We are very happy to have you. Thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Hayden, Christopher, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure, and I'm really grateful to be in your company. Thank you.
I'm excited. We have a nice interview scheduled here for tonight. Ferenc, if you're not familiar, he's a jack of all trades. He is involved in so many different aspects of art as well as filmmaking, and he's such a creative individual. I'm very excited for this interview. Again, Ferenc, we're so happy to have you tonight.
That may be an understatement, Hayden. I'm going to tell you, master may not be enough for him. I'm telling you, we were just talking pre-production before we just rolled the night out. The guy's making music. Mm-hmm. I'm like, is there anything this guy can't do? I don't know. We might have to find out about that. I don't know.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that I cannot do.
So we're going to be talking about your upcoming anthology for Faces of the Undead, which is going to be premiering on YouTube, you said, in parts?
No, actually, it will premiere in a special feature at the Waynesboro Theater, Waynesboro, PA, directly after the Mini Movie Festival, which is a short film festival. And Face of the Undead will premiere with a double feature with a movie called The Only Ones by the very talented Jordan Miller.
Wow, very impressive. So I have to ask, before we get started with Faces of the Undead and how you got to this point, take us back to when you first realized that, hey, horror held kind of a special place in your heart, and this is what you wanted to do. And at what point in your life was this?
That's a good question, because it's really is just a process and a concatenation. It's something that just kind of grow into or evolve to, I should say, I guess. I never woke up one day and said, oh my God, I got to have horror everything. The dark and the macabre, it's a part of the life process. I've always had a real fancy for the Victorian periods, the medieval periods, dark ages, things like that. When I was young, I wanted to be an anthropologist when I was a little kid. So cavemen and all this stuff, so for me, I guess it's very chronological. And, I kind of got my feet set in the sand somewhere around Victorian period. I work in the monument industry as well. I'm a carver artisan by trade originally. And so I work in a lot of mixed mediums, anything from bone, marbles, granites, glass, metals, everything. And that's a kind of a different pathway. But along with that, learning some of the more traditional aspects of it are brought about in some of those dark periods. Those whereas a lot of the foundation for a lot of the old techniques of that type of work comes from. So, kind of drawn to it. And I just think it's fun. When I was in high school, we would hook school or something. We go sit around and watch old black and white Abbott and Costello Chase the Mummy. The old classic horror movies and things like that. And always had a love for them. So just kind of grew on me, I suppose.
Very cool. Now, you mentioned the carvings and the various works you've been on. We were touching base on that before we rolled. Your carvings you've done, they're very intricate detailing. And how do you maintain like a precision, and like what drives your focus on that part of being those intricate details and how precise they need to be? That's very interesting to me.
Two things. There's a couple of different sides to that. There's what we would consider spec work, to where things need to be done to a very, very stringent specification. Some of the work that we do is actually pretty high profile. The National Cryptologic Memorial for the Department of Defense over here in Fort Meade, I carved that in '96, and I still go there every year and maintain it, and if need be, unfortunately, do the name additions on that monument.
Oh wow!
So something like that is extremely stringent specification. Most of it, as far as precision and detail, focus on it, everything else is just you always want to continue to grow as an artist. So focusing on that, learning new things, always remaining teachable, trying to improve oneself, one's technique. Art for me is a communication tool. So part of my intention, I don't want to say my job, but part of my intention is to communicate a feeling, to communicate a message. It's real easy to write a message out in script and have someone read it and interpret that. It's another one to look at something visually and be in sync with what that viewer is going to experience and feel merely by seeing it, if it's familiar or not. So, that's a big thing. It's funny that you say that. Carving, for the most part, for me, is really mindless work. I know that sounds really strange, but it's kind of like when you're writing, when you're creating, there's certain things that you do, certain processes that you do, that you get in the pocket, and you can be listening to a Deep Purple live concert in '73 while you're writing a horror story, and thinking about, man, what do I want for dinner? It is a multitasking of focus. But to me, focus it doesn't entail tunnel vision. Focus entails encompassing everything and directing it to an intended point.
Tell me a little bit about when you decided to start your production company, Things Forsaken, and like what was the drive to make you want to do that? Because that's like a big major undertaking to say, I think I'm going to start this film production company.
Yeah, I'm still going. Some days going. Things Forsaken grew out of my main studio, Sobra Studio. I traveled for, I used to travel 7 months out of the year doing gallery exhibitions, New Mexico, Taos, Midwest, Texas, everything else, with the carving work. And my main studio and home studio, of course, is here, and doing the different types of the work there. I like to create. I have me personally, and this is just what I come to for myself. I've come to this conclusion that I have this curse to have to create. So I'm always, I'm in a million different places. I'm a Libra. I'm an airhead, right? So it's like I'm all over the place. I want to create this and I want to create that. I played music. I made my contribution to the reason a lot of people are glad the 80s are over. I played music professionally. That's what I did for a living then. I moved away from that. I did musical theater, did some straight theater for a while. But at this point in my life, I'm 62 years old. So I have a family. I have a business, different businesses to run, and the art studios. And so the filmmaking grew out of starting to do different types of events and creating different products. And what we did is we started, it's like Creepy Dolls was one of the first things we did. And that's really where Things Forsaken came from, because I would go to the thrift store. I would, I wouldn't not dumpster dive, but I'd rag and bone man. Basically, if people don't know, you've heard of the very famous musician Rag and Bone Man. Well, what Rag and Bone Man is collecting things nobody really wants, fixing them up, modifying them, changing them, giving them a purpose again. So that's literally the title of Things Forsaken. We would get things that people had discarded. They had forsaken them, and we would repurpose them, create them into artworks. And originally, and what we still do with our line of chocolates, we do still donate part of those proceeds to Scares Care charity. And so that's where it came into, and it started kind of folding over into more of the macabre stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, the dolls are cool. They're neat. People like them. They're fun. Watch this. We start making all this other crazy stuff, The film work, again, I do have a background in theater. I always liked acting. Never said I was good at it. Said I like it. And I work on. I'm a cast member for other shows. One is the web series Man at Arms Reforged, which has been running a long, long time. And I'm still cast member on that show. Carver, Carrie gives me a call, says, "Dude, we got this one coming." And I'm in, and we had the TV series running. Robert Rodriguez was behind that one, along with some other production. Man at Arms, Art of War, and that was just a blast because we'd make more historically designed weapons, and we Danny Trejo would take them and just beat the living bejesus out of things, and I mean, what more could you want, right? So the film work there, working on that, and also working on just having fun doing stuff. I remember when I was a little kid, going back to what I was talking about before, liking the Paleolithic stuff, the caveman stuff. We used to dress up as cavemen and film it and make little black and white movies,
nice.
And stuff when I was a kid. So somewhere there was a seed planted way back. With some of the other media productions I'm involved in, it's a little more documentary style. Hey, Ferenc, what are you working on? Well, I'm taking this piece of wood and I'm drawing a circle with this pencil, and I'm going to cut it into this and make this. And then you see the talking heads in the background, give you some history, some things. And I wanted to do something different. So that's where Things Forsaken web series came from. The hybrid build show. We write our own scripts. We do it all in-house, build our own sets, props, etc. And we reenact the stories in character while we literally are doing the artwork. None of the craft work you see in that web series is done off camera and faked, and then we pretend like we're making it. We are literally making it live while we're filming that film.
That's cool.
That's short.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now we're talking about Things Forsaken, and I was looking over your Instagram account, and it really gives you a little bit of a glimpse into your creative process and kind of almost like stream of consciousness. This is where we're at. This is this. This is this. This is this, and upcoming projects. And how has social media influenced your connection with the fans and supporters?
Hey man, I'll take free PR all day long, baby. It's great because it gives a chance to interact with people, even in a limited sense, and put things out there. You never know who's going to see it. You can gain followers, YouTube subscription, how many subscribers, I don't, not to sound bad, but I don't concern myself with that so much. To me, it's about making this, and here it is. If you like it, take a look. If you really like it, say something. If you really like it, buy one. Social media, of course, makes a big difference. for anyone. I don't consider ourselves content makers as far as that goes. I don't consider ourselves influencers, anything like that. I leave my personal opinions out of it. I do work in the public eye. Like I said, some of my clients in the studio as well. I have quite a very diverse clientele. I have to carry security clearance for some of the work I do, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like most of the time, I'll walk into 7-Eleven and people are like, watch that guy. But it gives us the opportunity just to put it out there for what we're doing and not really be overly concerned about where it's going to go, who's going to interact or not. We appreciate everyone that follows us. And we definitely encourage everyone to, to contact us, talk to us. We try to be real personal. People send me messages I don't sleep much, but people send me messages from over in Europe asking me questions and I'll answer them,
So now this brings me to my next point. So I actually have two questions, but I'll answer this one. I'll ask this one first. Tell us about your connection to Hungary. You said you were Hungarian, and you've given us a story about what you used to do in terms of procurement, and especially that piece behind you. Could you recount that for our listeners? That piece, yes. For those of you who can't see, Ferenc, tell us what that is and tell us your story.
Well, this little fella, this is my teddy bear. And his dig, I will say, is approximately 90 to 100,000 years old.
Wow.
It's a fossil ice age cave bear skull, Ursus speleus. He came out of the Carpathian Mountains, Carpathian Mountains, in the Bihor Pass. The Bihor Pass is a passageway up and through the mountain. It's like really the only way in and out of Vlad Tepes' original stronghold, which is why it was so fortified. It's between Hungary and Romania. He came from the Hungarian side. My parents, I was born here, so I'm first generation Hungarian American here, however you want to put it. I don't get wrapped up in labels. But my parents came over here in 1956, escaping the revolution. Except for two brothers that still live here, all my surviving relatives on both sides of my family still live in Hungary. So we keep in contact. I don't speak as well as I would like, especially with my parents gone for so long. Really not many people to speak to keep it up. I do, I won't use the paprika they sell in the U.S. I call my cousin who drives down to the fields where the old ladies are drying them against a barn wall, and it's be about 11-12 kilo a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
My second question, watching a few of your Things Forsaken videos today, I noticed an Easter egg in several of the videos, and you're smiling already, but that's a good thing. Tell us about this coffee mug that's in all these videos. I see this thing and I'm like, I recognize that.
This one.
That's the one.
There you go. There you go.
If I have a reputation and, or I will take accountability for anything, is that I drink an obnoxious amount of coffee and espresso to the point to where it became a bit of a novelty to make sure it's in the films. If you watch Man at Arms episodes through the years, it's extremely rare. And if it's not on camera with me, it's because they probably put it on the editing floor that day instead of left that clip in. I mean, it's bad, dude. I use like IV bags, like feed bags, for overnight feeds for especially my daughter's special needs, and we used to have these bags. So I got some of these bags, and I'll fill it up with espresso and put a tube in my mouth while I'm carving because I can't keep stopping to do this. And and so yeah, so I'll
Wow.
I'll pipe coffee and like that. So the bottom line is I have such a big reputation. It became a novelty. The thing about the web series, and it's one of the things for me that comes into a way of making some of the film. If you're going to initialize presenting something to someone in a certain way, and you have any anachronisms whatsoever, you get picked apart. I mean, there's still people that yell because they were drinking out of cans in MASH. They didn't have cans in the 50s in MASH. In Korean War, they were drinking out of bottles. So you're always going to have that. But our very first short film on the web series, Penny for a Poppet, I play a 1920s doll maker, not right in the head. I never put my hair up. And no one has ever said a word. Why? Because they know it's me. I'm presenting this as me doing this. So they know they know I'm already fooling them, and they're fine with that.
Nice. The as just going along with like influences, can you tell me about grandfather Henry Nice as far as like an influence in your life, mentorship? Did that shape an approach to your art at all?
Wow. Grandpa Henry, man, wow. What an amazing human being, and God, what a dear man. Yeah, I miss him dearly. He was a very dear friend of mine. Henry Henry been around. He'd been around. He was a little man in stature, but he was a giant in stature as a person. Veteran, World War II vet, and some of my relationship with Henry is not something I'll talk about publicly. As far as the artwork and the mentorship, Henry he won the Pulitzer in '53. He was an amazing artist. Actually, a quick little story with that, which is really neat. And you may find, if you were to search a million things on my Facebook, you may even find the picture. He won that Pulitzer. And of course, the newspapers took a photograph of it, printed it. He was looking on eBay one day, and he found the original photograph from 1953 of him standing there holding the Pulitzer.
Wow. That's cool.
And he went to buy it it was one of these historical photo sellers, and he went to buy it and somebody else bought it. And he was telling me about it, and he was just so upset. He wanted that picture. So for the next 2 months, I stalked eBay like crazy and go, okay, well, who's this guy that bought it? Okay, well, he's selling stuff. At some point, he's going to flip it. So I waited around. I followed him on there until I saw he put it up for sale. I paid $15 more than he did for it. And I bought it and gave it to Henry for a gift. And then I took a picture of him holding his picture of holding.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's so great.
But, Henry was an amazing person, not just an amazing artist. He had a gift and a way of being able to see what's really there instead of what we think we see, and understand how to respect that. And I'll leave that at that.
Ferenc, the reason you're here today is not to talk about your past and your history. While it's all a part of your legacy, we're here to talk about what you got coming up. And that is, of course, your new anthology, Faces of the Undead. Tell us a little bit about this anthology.
Faces, another strange story. Face of the Undead sprung from the web series. As you see, we make products. Part of the products that we sell there are what help to promote the studio and doing more films. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to do another short episode. It's getting about that time to put one out. So I think to myself, well, let me go ahead and just do an episode about something I already make, so I don't go through the process of creating an entire new product, an entire new product line, everything it takes to manage that, to maintain that. And we were going to do that with the some of these skull sculptures that we do. We do various ones, from tribal ones to just all kind of different ones. And so I started looking into that and started writing a little bit. And then I go to myself, the build aspect, I'm doing these in resin. If it was a DIY or DIY, however you say that, do it yourself, DIY.
Yeah.
If I was a tutorial, it could be cool, but it's not. Mm-hmm. So the build aspect doesn't have enough bang for the buck for me. So I'm going to do a straight horror movie. And so I got myself into this. And my style of writing, of production, the way that I choose to film, pretty much the entire process is very unorthodox, very out of the box. When I tell people, especially other people in the industry, how I'm doing things, they look at me and go, "What?" And it's like, yeah, I do things way out of the box.
Give us some examples.
Here's a good one for you. Faces of the Undead anthology the script is not even done.
Wow.
Yeah, we're editing, we're in post for part 1. I will write script on set. Sometimes, depending what the scenes are. Now, most of the web series, and it comes from doing the web series. Now, mind you, a lot of the times in the web series, though I do bring in other crew, other DP, depending on the how big it is, what needs to be done. I can't shoot everything. But a lot of it I shoot myself. I'm building it, I'm writing it, I'm acting in it, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's all solo. So I know what everything is going on. It's all up here. I don't need to elaborate to anyone else. With Faces, yes, we're doing storyboard. We're writing scripts. We're giving actors time to, of course, learn the script. Sometimes, it comes down pretty quick, but I like to keep things extremely simple, not vague, in the sense that if I want to micromanage an actor on set to the point where they're just going to be following every single thing, precision point, then what do I need an actor for? So I want to see first how they deliver this. How did they come up? Here's your script. It's vague. A lot of times I'm fine with if you're changing dialogue, as long as key points that I need said are said and delivered in certain manners. Then I tell them, here's your character. Do you want a synopsis? Sure. Okay, I'll give you a quick synopsis. It's all yours. And let it turn them loose.
We have a Twitch user, Jamilian, has a question for you. Is it true that you make all of your props and special effects from scratch? And what is that process like?
Yes, tedious and expensive. And all of the, for an example, all of the props for Faces of the Undead, all the dummy heads, everything else, I do all those myself. I'm fortunate enough to have a dear friend of mine who's going to be credited in the movie, of course. And he's a graduate of Tom Savini's school. And he's been a consult on this for a little while and everything. But yeah, we make all our own props. I'm an artist and an artisan by trade for a long time. I'm pretty apt to being able to figure things out, learn things, create ways to make new things. So like all of the we've cast 3 or 4 people's faces and heads for Faces of the Undead to make the dummy heads, the different special effects scenes, things like that. We make all our own stuff. I like doing it. It's fun. It is tedious, it's very experimental in some respects. Again, it's one of the things for me that gives me the opportunity to do one more thing to create, just like music, film, this. I get to do it all in one ball of wax,
So how's that process work? If you come across, okay, this scene's going to need ABC, what do I kind of have around that I can, put together to make that work? Is that just kind of like a quick brainstorm, or do you kind of plan this out a little bit ahead of time?
It depends. Sometimes that's situational. So sometimes it's kind of like, and that comes from a background of working on shows like Man at Arms. How do I make this with what I have right now? And it's problem solving. It's adapting on the fly. There is some of that. A lot more of the stuff here for Faces of the Undead has to be planned out longer term, because we are a little bit more bigger production. If I have an idea right on the fly on set, then it's like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. Do I have what I need here to do this? Okay, let me see. I can get this to work. I bet it works. We do in Faces of the Undead, one of the things we had to figure out is there's a morgue scene. It actually opens up in a morgue scene. And literally the mortician takes a scalpel, a real scalpel, and he cuts open the cadaver's chest. And you see not much blood because you've already seen a tube of blood, him being drained. But you literally see the scalpel cutting through the chest skin in the sternum and a little bit of blood coming out. So it's like, okay, well, how do you pull that off? You can make a prosthetic. You can use tubing. You can do this. You can do this. So literally what I did with that is I took some of the silicone that we used for casting the faces and literally some of my own chest hair, painted it up. And we did a prosthetic about that big that laid right here. Inside of that is a small, thin piece of metal. So there's a pocket between that silicone and that metal plate. And we take a hypodermic and fill it up with our blood mixture so that he can literally take a scalpel on my chest, go and cut it without harming me, and it's going to open up and bleed.
Wow.
So it's something like that. It takes planning because it takes a little time to make. Most of that planning is just kind of like going, okay, well, if I do this, that works. Okay, yeah, cool. That was done in a matter of 3-4 hours, mostly because of drying and curing time. But that wasn't a big, long, planned out, elaborate special effects scene. Not like you're throwing somebody off of a mountain and you need to see him hit the ground.
Right.
You're not going to use VFX.
Let me ask you, how do you find the actors to act in your movies? Do you put a casting call out? Do you just go with people you know? Have you met enough people through the conventions and the products in your history that you know enough people to, hey, I can kind of pull this person, or I think this person would be good for this part? How do you find the people to go ahead and act in these movies?
That's like my wife asking me, do you want this for dinner or this? My answer is yes. All the above, literally all the above. We have everything from family, friends. I'll walk up to a perfect stranger. If I'm standing around looking at them, go, my God, they would be perfect. They got the look just for that. I'll go up and approach them. And yes, we put out casting calls at times. Chloe Stewart, a very, very wonderful, just a treasure and a talented young actress, plays Vera in Faces Part 1. And she had responded from a casting call that I had put out. Other people I have met at conventions. A friend of mine introduced me to NAR. Big hugs if you watch this, NAR. Nancy Ann Ritter. You know her as the girl in the bathroom from Scream.
Oh, okay.
Nancy Ann Ritter, and a very good friend. I'm going to become a very good friend and very talented actor, Christopher Enlow, also playing Nancy Ann Ritter's husband in a lead up scene for some of Vera's stuff for Chloe. And so then, you know, Nancy Ann I met at a convention and got to talk to her a little bit and approached her and went from there, you know, process. So yeah, other people, it's been casting calls, and then some of the casting calls that have come in, people that are actors, professional actors, semi-pros, people that are involved working and pursuing, you know, very active in it. You know, a lot of referrals. You know, hey man, you know, I need 3 chicks and I need 2 more guys to put on these weird looking crow masks. You know, and it's like, well, let me reach out to such and such. You know, so some of the people that I've had in the web series, there's actually people in Faces of the Undead have never been on screen, never acted, never been in a movie. That's a lot of people would never do something like that. A few different reasons. Again, I'll reiterate, I do things way out of the box. I'm very low budget. To me, and we are non-union, so I'm not attached to SAG-AFTRA, or anyone else's criteria. You know, so for me also, it's like some people will come in and say, "Man, I'd really love to do a part in this." It's like, cool. And they follow through. People that when I approach them and go, "Oh wow, I don't know, let me think about it." Gone.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, I mean, it's rare that I will chase somebody around, you know, but for the most part, and especially, you know, if it's someone that's not an experienced actor, you know, that brings that to the table, then yeah, it's, you know, I'm not going to work with that. I would much rather work with people with lesser experience that have the enthusiasm and the true passion for what they're doing, because I can dial them in. I will write them a role that they are capable of and make it comfortable for them so that they can deliver their best, as opposed to, again, having something so very stringent that someone is going to struggle to present and perform something. And, you know, it reads on camera. If somebody's all in or somebody's just there for the money, it reads on camera, you know? So yes, all the above and all the situations to that one, man.
Now, your Faces of the Undead is going to cover supernatural and psychological elements. How do you approach creating an atmosphere that blends them? Is there anything specific you do, or
horror formulas are really interesting. You know, horror formulas are, you know, Hitchcock was the master of building suspense and then delivering it to you in whatever capacity. You know, there's always shock value. There's gore. You know, there's the psychological aspects. I'm really glad you asked it, because it's strange. Even a lot of people that I'm working with, actors and some of the crew on set, you'll ask them, "So what's this movie about?" And they'll look at you and go, "I'm not really sure." And I want it that way for a reason. For one, I don't want them focusing on the big picture of the story as much as I want them focusing on who they are right here, right now. The other part of that is Faces of the Undead is a horror based with a psychological element movie. it is very, very much about the struggles of mental health. And that's a golden egg that I'm saying here because I haven't really told people that. But I'm not presenting that. I want people to realize it. I want them to catch that, to feel that, to see it, and to connect with that and go, wow, this movie's really more about this. Presenting the horror elements into it. Yes, there's some of the standard little shock things. A lot of the things, and you brought this up, Christopher, is golden eggs. So if you watch Faces of the Undead, even part 1, this is really about the struggle of the necromancer the entire time. And I'll leave it at that because I would give away way too much, especially this early, if I said anything more on that line. But it's very much about this character's struggle and the representationals of the other characters, what they represent in that struggle. And it is a struggle, it is a struggle with mental health aspects. I'll read you a quote from the movie, if I can remember. Actually, I'd have to pull up my screen to remember. If I can remember exactly how written. When the last thread that binds together reality had broken, I, no longer among the living, remained unwelcome among the dead. So it's not a purgatory. It's that loss of reality, that questioning reality. And the part 1 may seem a little disjointed, and I want it that way. I want the viewer a little bit confused. I want them questioning, because this is how I want them to be in the position of this person struggling. I want them unsure. So that's how we're presenting it.
Okay. So we know that you said you're just wrapping up post-production for this. What's your plans? You plan on going wide distribution, trying for movie theaters, streaming services? What are your plans for distribution for Faces of the Undead?
Plans for distribution, we're self-distributing currently is the plan. We're going to put it out in a few theaters. We'll look at some of the different avenues for film streaming. Some of that kind of stuff is changing. Some of the criteria for different, not even aggregates, but just distribution. Film Hub, there's a little bit of buzz about, some of their criteria is changing. One of the things we don't want is to license out any part of Faces of the Undead or a franchise of it, any parts of it, have it sit on a shelf license and never be aired. I'm a little bit more of a control freak than that. I would much rather take it to the theaters, send it in, film festivals, things of that nature. The film festival where Faces is going to premiere alongside of the only ones after the festival in Waynesboro, I have 2 of the YouTube shorts that were selected for that. So we'll be doing there. We're also looking at a screening to come up in Frederick, Maryland. Some other places we'll take it around. Some of the event screenings. We will, once the entire anthology is complete, we'll release on DVD, on disc in different formats ourselves that way for the entire film. So most of it is self-distribution, self-marketing. Again, I do things a lot out of the box. Looking at marketing deals, marketing budgets, things of this nature. I'm self-funding. We do have a crowdfunder. Right now,
promote that. If you have the website for that, we can promote that here.
Yeah. It's just crowdfunder.com. CROWDFNDR. because there's a couple of different ones. .com and Faces of the Undead.
So you guys got that. If you want to go ahead and help Ferenc promote this movie and make this movie everything it can be, help him with the budget. Crowdfunder.com, Faces of the Undead. Ferenc, is there anything else you want to close out with before we?
I got
finish?
one.
Oh,
I got
go ahead,
one good
Hayden.
question.
I'm sorry,
I
go
got
ahead.
one more question for Ferenc. Are there any mediums or themes that you have not explored that you'd like to work with in the future? I know you have worn a lot of hats and you've touched on a lot of different things. Is there anything out there that you haven't explored that you want to?
As far as artistic mediums,
Any medium.
well, I can't dance.
And this is,
you know, I've worked in so many different mediums.
thank you, Jamilian, for putting the crowdfunding page on the stream.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, you know, right off the top of my head, I can't really think of any. I'm very spread thin. I'm sure I'll come up with something. You know, for me, a lot of the stuff is just I run into something and I see it and I go, "Oh, that's cool." I like to check working in that. I've worked in, gosh, just about every medium there is at some point. But I do want to bring one quick thing up because for me, it's very important in Face of the Dead for people to get it, so to speak. When you mentioned golden eggs, pay attention. Pay attention to the small subtleties, the things that are said, especially because they mean something. You know, a lot of the character, I'm actually in the movie. A lot of people don't even know I'm actually in it. But I play the necromancer. I don't have a lot of speaking parts, you know. Non-dead people don't say much. But so it's a very expressionistic.
Can we make my wife a necromancer? I'm just out of curiosity. I wasn't sure.
What is that?
Can we make my wife a necromancer? Just out of curiosity.
You could. Yeah, you know, one of the things about Faces of the Undead, it goes all over not all over the place, but it goes in different ways. There's headhunting scenes. There's like medieval pagan sacrifice scenes. There's Victorian or turn of the century, you know, vampiristic scenes, brothels. Very talented actress Rivka Brick plays Madame Esmeralda. Jesse Gill is playing Lady Desiree, the voodoo priestess. We are not looking to cultural appropriate. There are some visuals in some of these that people will look at and go, "Oh my gosh, you know, that's from this culture." You know what? It's a horror movie, dude. You know, we are not implying anything. Horror and voodoo are a really strange mix. Voodoo is a healing art. Voodoo is a healing art, you know, a belief system. The horror community and the horror writers have taken it and used that. It to me, it's the same context as when you're watching a movie and you hear that music in the background, la da 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 da, the choruses and everything. Those are spiritual hymns. That's the origin of that music, but it sounds creepy, you know. So you take it and you run with it. I will say some of this. We do our own special effects. There are some things in the films that are literally physically done. They are not special effects. When you see the transformation, I'll put it that way, of the necromancer, which is done a certain way by the voodoo priestess, that is not special effects. So that gives you something to go, you know, if you want to talk about a little shock value for certain viewers, you know, other viewers are kind of like, okay, great. You know, but it's presented in a way that you really got to pay attention to the dialogue and the little things that is said, because we're not going to lay this whole story out for you. We want people to question it. I want people talking a week later and debating about, no, this was going to happen. No, that happened. No, that's not like this.
Yes.
You know, if I want to give somebody something, a nice cup of coffee, watch them drink it and forget about it 10 minutes after they've had it, I'll do that. I want to keep them talking.
I like it. I like it.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me pull up that crowdfunding page again, just so everybody can see it there.
Thank you.
Crowdfunding page, crowdfunder.com, Faces of the Undead. Please help support Ferenc. This is a great project. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm you know, this has been a great night.
Awesome night. And Ferenc, I have one more question for you. I know everybody keeps saying one more question, but we can't get enough. And it's the question I always get as an author is when's the next one coming out? Have you even started production on Faces of the Undead 2?
2 and 3, actually. The first thing that we did, and this comes into me, my planning, so to speak, low budget again. So what we did is all of the quote unquote, or 2 out of the 3, I should say, but a good part of these take place outdoors. So we utilized filming those sections because of actor crew availability and also because of weather. We filmed a lot of those segments for all 3 parts before winter hit, so that those are done. And I don't get to a certain point in part 1 and go, okay, we filmed all this up to here, but now it's like, dude, it's like 18 degrees outside. We can't film this. There's snow on the ground. So I got to wait till spring. As you know, a lot of things don't get done in sequence. And so, yeah, we've already filmed segments of part 2 and 3. Again, out of the box, I like to see things to give me new pathways and have things evolve. My writing evolves as we shoot. So as this comes about, I'm seeing what we have, and it's telling me the rest of the story of how this moves into part 2 to lead into those parts that we've already got in the can. Because the whole story is kind of told and narrated by the historian who is in the club. It's in the modern day club, the Cask and Coffin, which is the same location, the club, the Cask and Coffin from back then, where it all got started, and where the voodoo priestess owned. So yeah, we're already working on those things. We're doing music. As I write music here, I'll be composing a piece and say, yeah, you know, this is kind of cool. I don't want to use it here, but you know what? That fits in part 3 over there. So make a note of that. Steve Archer, Stoneburner. Steve Archer is an extremely talented musician. Him and his wife, the band Ego Likeness, check them out. They are rad, man. Watch some of their music videos. Stephen Archer, I've known for quite some time. He's going to, I just spoke to him a few days ago, messaged with him and everything. So we'll be using some of his original soundtrack stuff he's doing. He actually did the music for NASA, for the IMAX theaters.
Wow.
For one of the productions. And he's an author too. He wrote a children's book called oh my God, Steve is gonna like slam me for this. It's Luna something Luna. I can't remember it. But look him up, Steve at Archer, you know, Luna, check it out. It's a cool book. So yeah, we are already way into both parts.
Hayden?
I have no more questions. I'm just, thrilled that we were able to have you tonight. Thank you so much for spending the night with us, Ferenc.
Oh man, thank you guys.
Ferenc, thank
That's
you. You've been
awesome.
amazing. And just we appreciate you. If everybody can go to the crowdfunder and Faces of the Undead, help support Ferenc, we would appreciate it. And again,
yeah, we got some great
amazing
perks
talent.
there.
You are an amazing talent, Ferenc. You really are.
Thank you. That's so much better than Ferenc get a real job, son.
I have a real job. It sucks. You don't want one.
I do this because I'm unemployable anywhere else, guys.
So,
well, thank you guys so much.
Yep.
Dearly appreciate it. I'm very grateful for you guys taking the time and your hospitality and having us on. And I hope to see you again and hope to be able to meet you personally at some point, man.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure with all the conventions I have lined up, I'm sure I'll run into you or Emily somewhere down the street.
Dig it.
So again, everybody,
guys.
Big thank you for Ferenc Gregor, and
things to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we will be back shortly. We're taking a break. We'll be back with weird news stories and our first edition of Let's Get Weird for 2025. Ferenc Gregor, author Christopher Michael Blake. I'm Hayden Stoll. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Ferenc.